Hello again, students. How's it going? Instructor Holland here with the VLP Network as always. Welcome back to class. First and foremost, I know let's address the elephant in the room. My hair. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of comments asking why I shaved my head. Well, honestly, I don't have a good reason. I'll just be honest with you. I'm trying to grow the beard out, have a more of a shaved head, just develop a different look, and when I start the police academy relatively soon, it's going to get shaved off anyway, so that's the reason. But I finally have some time. I like to say that in my EMT class, I had a massive test yesterday. I'm happy to say that I passed. It was probably one of the hardest tests I've had to do. It was all about trauma, just different types of trauma, different types of shock, treating chest wounds, treating intracranial bleeding, all this different stuff. It was incredibly comprehensive, and my time studying pretty much encompassed my entire day. But now that it's done, I have a brief period of time where I have the opportunity to bring you guys another video. Today's period of instruction came to me when I was driving to the gym the other day, and I was behind a specific car that had a bunch of bumper stickers on the back. The content of these bumper stickers doesn't really matter. We'll get more into that in general, but it ended up sparking a little bit of a thought in my head. And that's that, in my opinion, and in a lot of security professionals' opinions, bumper stickers are a really stupid idea to have on the back of your car. As a matter of fact, the stuff that you put on your shirts, the type of logos, the type of things you have on your shirts, the clothing you wear, the stuff you put on your car, the stuff you have on your license plate, really anything in general can potentially tell an opponent a lot more about you than what you want them to know. But there may be plenty of students out there that are sitting here wondering, well, why can't I express myself on? Why is it not a good idea for me to express my interests, hobbies, and my personal beliefs on bumper stickers that I proudly show to the public on the back of my car? Well, that's what we're going to get into today in this relatively short video. I don't have a whole lot of channel updates. I don't have a whole lot of more stuff to talk about. So today, let's just jump right into class. If there's nothing left for me, I have nothing for you. So have a seat, students, and let class begin. So just like any class that I like to talk about and I like to teach in regards to human behavior and why human beings do what they do, we're always going to start off with a little bit of psychological history and understanding. If you have ever watched my Why Complacency Can Get You Killed video, you'll understand and you'll know that I went over what's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And just like that video, I'm not going to get too far into it because that could be a video in and of itself. But all we really need to understand is that human beings do things for specific purposes, and all of it can be geared towards emotional security or physical security. Basically, the hierarchy shows what human beings need from a basic level all the way up to an advanced level in order to make sure that we stay happy, safe, and relatively secure. So why is it that human beings feel the need to put bumper stickers on their car or wear specific shirts that have different types of logos that they like, sports teams, political affiliations, different things like that? Well, for a lack of better terminology, it's because people want attention. As I said before, human beings are social creatures, and one of the things that we deeply need emotionally as human beings in order to stay emotionally secure and sane is recognition from other human beings. We do this in various ways, but one of the ways that we express to other human beings that we can be liked is by showing them that we are of them. Being part of someone's ilk, being part of someone's group because you have similar interests, hobbies, or stances on certain life things is one way that we are able to identify with other human beings and feel like we are included inside of a group, so that way we don't feel isolated or alone. But if we don't talk about it, if we don't post it on social media, or we don't wear a shirt showing exactly the things that we like, who's going to know what things that we're into, and who is going to identify with us, and who is going to accept them into their group? No one really, unless we show them. And that's why people tend to wear these things or post these things on social media or put them on bumper stickers. There's multiple other reasons why a human being might do this, but the other one that immediately comes to mind is someone who might have some self-esteem issues. It's kind of like a meme at this point with the people who are like, acting super badass or post things that are really badass, and then someone else replies, oh, we got a badass over here. A lot of the time those things come from people that feel a constant need to prove themselves because they haven't been able to do so, or they were too scared to try something that would help them build confidence in themselves. And so they do it through outside methods, other methods that can be relatively toxic and cringy. Understanding these types of things about us in our psychology is very important if we're going to make distinctions about whether or not we're going to put something on our vehicle or put something on a shirt that we're going to wear out in the public or not. Being able to recognize our inner psyche is extremely important if we're going to make adequate changes to our lives. But why is this a security issue? People like to do things all the time to help express themselves, and it's totally human for another person to want to express themselves in some way. Well, that's what we're going to get into now, why that can be a very bad idea. For people who are not new to security or have extensive backgrounds in law enforcement, military, security, self-defense, martial arts, things like that, you probably understand the gray man principle, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit for students that have no idea, because again, this video and this channel in general are geared towards people who have very little to no experience in this type of stuff whatsoever. Put simply, the gray man principle is a principle that describes whether or not you as a person, when you are out in the public, stick out like a sore thumb. When you are out in a crowd, or you are out at the mall, or you are out wherever you are, do you assume the appearance of just one of the general public, or do you stick out because of the clothes you're wearing, the body language that you are portraying to people, the things that you have on your person, so like a backpack or something like that, the gear that you're carrying, or are you completely unassuming? If you are completely unassuming and no one ever bats a second eye at you, then you have adopted what's called the gray man principle. The ability to essentially blend into a crowd without drawing too much attention to yourself or anyone else around you. Now, a lot of people who enjoy expressing themselves might sit there and go, well, why would I ever want to do that? That sounds very boring. And while yes, it may be boring, it's also the safest way to operate in society. Let's put it this way. If you are out and you are drawing a lot of attention to yourself in general, you might draw accidentally or unintentionally the attention of people who wish to do you harm. So for example, if you are going out into the public wearing very expensive Gucci dresses, carrying a really expensive purse with a bunch of rings on your finger, and you just happily show these things off to the public, while that may give you the benefit of having people understand that you are well-to-do and you are very high up on the financial scale, people who wish to do you harm, such as robbers or muggers, might see you and go, ah, there's a prime target. There are several ways that we can counteract this, and several ways that we can use body language and stuff like that in order to show potential predators that this is not the right person for you. You don't want to target me. Trust me, you don't. But we're not going to really get into that in this video because that's not the topic of discussion. Instead, let's bring this back to the original and see how the gray man principle directly correlates to bumper stickers. And I'll start off by using a prime example that probably every one of you have seen on somebody's car. For all my students watching, honestly, think about it. How many times have you seen that stupid bumper sticker where people put the stick figure families on the back of their cars, the exact number of kids they have, the members of their family, sometimes they even have like the pet stickers on there, just those really cringy and really dumb stickers that people put in the backs of their cars because they are proud of their family and they want to show off to the world that they have a family in the first place. Hell, some of you might even think that that's cute and that's heartwarming, and you know what, that's perfectly fine. But that is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, a breach of the gray man principle. How does it breach the gray man principle? It will allow me to explain. First of all, simply put, think about this. Do you really want the entire public of the town that you live in, the city you live in, or wherever you drive to know how many children you have? Do you really want anybody to be able to find out how old your kids are, what genders they are, a boy or a girl, or both? Honestly, sit there and think about whether or not that is information that you would like just cast out for free to the general public for people that don't know you. Predators are individuals who are going to look for opportunities where the victim essentially gives them a free bone. And by taking those stickers and putting them on your car, you are directly showing a potential predator, and you never know who a predator could be, exactly 1, how many members of your family there are, 2, the ages of the children that you have, and 3, the genders of your kids. Now, I would imagine that any good parent wants their children's security to be of the highest priority, but you aren't doing that properly as a parent if you are portraying that information freely out to the general public and to the world. The reason that bumper stickers are going to stick out so much is because they are brightly colored oftentimes. They don't match the regular backsides of cars that we are used to seeing on a daily basis every single time that we drive down the road. It kind of breaks up the view of the car that we are used to, and so it automatically drives our attention over to that particular spot on the car. And so you are having more eyes shift over to your car and analyzing, what does that say? If I'm a person that happens to look at that sticker that you have, now I know how many kids you have and how many members of your family there are. I know, it's creepy when you think about it, but that is what you're doing. I'm not saying that that's what you intended to do, but that is unfortunately what you're doing, whether you intended to do it or not. Let's take a look at some other very common bumper stickers and talk about why they could be potentially dangerous. Obviously, this one kind of goes without saying, especially nowadays in America with the country as divided as it is. people are oftentimes not going to be very fond of you if you don't match the political ideology that they are involved with. That does not necessarily mean that violence to you is going to occur, but it could certainly lead to other things. Things like vandalism to your car or your home, for example. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest things that was happening when Trump was getting elected was individuals who were running up on people's lawns and snatching the Trump signs off of people's lawns or ripping down Trump flags and stuff like that off of people's homes and private property because they simply disagreed with the messages that he was portraying and they didn't agree with his political party. Any stickers that you might have on the back of your vehicle that portray to the world your political stance or your views on certain topics that could be political based can be very dangerous for you. And while yes, I understand that you might be proud of supporting the movement that you support, oftentimes you can support it just as easily without having to portray it to people that you don't know. Another very common one that I see a lot are National Rifle Association stickers, Second Amendment support stickers, and things of that nature. Trust me, I wholeheartedly support the Second Amendment. I don't believe in any of the weapons bans or anything like that that's happening, but portraying that to the community is also not a good idea. In my opinion, it's the same as an open carry. I heavily disagree with open carry in general. I just think it's a very tactically stupid move. The whole point of having a concealed weapons permit and having your weapon on you where other people can't see it is so that way you have the element of surprise if something bad happens. You're in that gray man zone like I just mentioned. They don't know you have a firearm, but if someone comes up and tries to do bodily harm on you and you feel the need to pull your weapon because that level of force matches deadly force that you need to portray on somebody else, then again, you have the element of surprise. If you have NRA bumper stickers or you have Second Amendment bumper stickers on your vehicle, I automatically know that you have guns and that even though that might be a deterrent of some kind, if I'm coming up to rob you, I'm not going to hold you at gunpoint. I'm just going to shoot and then I'm going to take whatever you have. Don't give them any reason to fire first. Instead, keep that stuff to yourself so that way, if you ever need to do it, you have the jump on the guy. Group identity stickers are any stickers that show that you are associating or belong to any sort of specific group. This can be large and small scale organizations, either religious or anything else. A perfect example of this is coming from my specific background. I see veteran stickers all the time of veterans who have served in the military putting specific branch stickers that they served in on their vehicles. And while it's totally okay to be prideful in the service that you gave towards the country, it can also be a little bit of an operational security breach to a certain extent. Even though we don't necessarily have to worry about domestic terrorism in a large grand scale sense here in America, there have been several times where this has occurred. And in some of those cases, military members were specifically targeted. So even though I am fully supportive of people expressing who they are and showing that they are proud to be a veteran of Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever sort of conflict you served in, it might not be a good idea to put those things on there if you don't want to be specifically targeted because you served against certain foreign bodies. The same could be said about religious groups. I know a lot of individuals who put crucifixes and stuff like that as bumper stickers on their vehicles or whatever religion that you subscribe to. This can also be detrimental because again, religion is one of the most volatile things that can cause conflict. That's not to offend anybody, that's just historically accurate. If you look at history, history itself is rife with conflicts that have been driven by religious purposes or standpoints. Hell guys, it sounds stupid, but even the sports teams that you guys subscribe to or are fans of, even those things can send off volatile vibes to somebody else who might be a fan of a team that dislikes the team that you're a fan of. In fact, there's this ridiculously crazy video, I'll try and look it up, where a person went to Boston wearing a New York Yankees hat, and while he's walking down the street, he legitimately was accosted and sometimes even assaulted by individuals who went up to him and said, "You don't wear that freaking hat here."
Yeah, we still gotta clean.
Yo, take that shit back to New York. Get out of here.
It's ridiculous, I know, but that is tribalism to its core, and to a certain extent, whenever we are doing these things, we are engaging in tribalism, and if somebody else is of the opposite tribe, historically and just genetically and human beings speaking, that's going to cause problems. So just be careful for that. Characteristic defining stickers are anything that is going to give the person a clue about who you are as a person in terms of your personality. It gives the person an easier ability to a certain extent, profile you. So what does this mean? Well, let me give you an example. Have you guys ever seen those coexist bumper stickers? A person who puts one of those bumper stickers on their car usually has a specific type of ideology in regards to conflict, in regards to how human beings should treat another person. Based upon that bumper sticker alone, I can somewhat deduce that this individual believes in pacifism, and this individual believes that all people should generally tend to get along. And through that, I can make the assumption, and sometimes this can be a stretch, but I can make the assumption to a certain extent that this person is going to be an easier target because they don't believe in conflict. And if they don't believe in conflict, I can ascertain that they probably have not prepared for conflict at all in the first place. Again, it's like I said in one of my previous videos, it's a difference between being peaceful and being harmless. Now, of course, this assumption could be totally dead wrong, and this person who is judging this other person could be completely wrong about this person's beliefs and such. But in a general sense, we should try and avoid putting anything on our vehicles that is going to denote what our personality is going to be like. Because in the end, this may inadvertently make the other person think that you are a soft or easy target. The best way of dealing with conflict is, in general, avoiding it altogether. And so if we can stop that from happening, then we're going to be safer. So again, if you believe in a certain thing, that's totally fine. But in most cases, it's better to keep it to yourself as opposed to just kind of putting it out there for the entire world to see. So students, I'd like to end today's lesson with a little note on what bumper stickers do I think are harmless and can be allowed on vehicles. And honestly, in my opinion, there are several that you can put on your vehicles that I think are harmless. The other day I was driving and I saw somebody who had a hockey stick on their car. That's all it was. It was a simple hockey stick bumper sticker that they put on their back windshield and everything, and it was completely harmless. I don't see how that could cause problems. Unless you have like some dude who's just ridiculously anti-hockey that sees that and for some reason decides to cause problems with you because of your hockey desires and beliefs. But in general, if you're going to put bumper stickers in your car or anything else for that matter, I think that you should keep it relatively vague and simple. And even then, you should be very careful about what you portray to the world. For myself, my vehicle has no bumper stickers on it. I've seen individuals who are combat sports athletes or whatever put things like, you know, a black belt bumper sticker on their car, a BJJ bumper sticker on their car, MMA gloves, they have bumper stickers for that they put on their cars. I personally, even though that is pretty, you know, small and simple, I personally don't want anyone to know that I do martial arts because I'd really rather not have somebody immediately take out a force multiplier or something if they end up having a problem with me because they don't want to go hands-on with me because they know that I do martial arts. So even when you make things simple, analyze the bumper sticker and really think about what you're portraying out to the world and to the community and anybody that might wish to do you harm or just people in general. This is just a very simple method of taking something very, very small, putting a general threat assessment on it, and then being able to figure out whether or not this is something that could potentially cause us problems in the future. And with the world the way it's going nowadays, guys, I think we could all use a little bit less problems here and there. So that is it, students. That's it for today's lesson. Take the information and then just think about it. If you have bumper stickers on your car, I'm not saying take them off immediately or that you're an idiot or anything like that. Simply go over to the bumper stickers and think, what does this portray out to any potential threat that I could come across? Am I giving out any sort of sensitive information about myself, my family, my personality, anything? And then after analyzing that and assessing that, figure out what you're going to do. In this way, we can avoid bad problems altogether because the best way to protect ourselves is just to not get into a situation in the first place. And that's one of the biggest things about threat assessment and making sure that what we're doing in everyday life is safe. Avoiding the potential problems and reducing the risks that we take whenever we go out into the world. So with that being, students, I hope everyone had a good class. I hope you learned something useful, and I hope it benefits you someday in the future. I hope you all remain safe, happy, and healthy, especially in these troubling times. I know about the Ukraine crisis and everything like that. That's popping off like crazy all over the news and stuff like that. Stay strong. I don't feel like I'm going to make a video on that. I don't really feel like there's anything that I can contribute to my opinions on that or anything. I try not to get too political on this channel at all. I just try and keep the information generalized and useful for individuals and students. But with those things going on, try and make sure that we are being prepared, but we're also staying positive. So that's it, students. I will see you next time. If you have nothing for me, I have nothing for you. Class is dismissed. Stay safe out there, and remember, victory loves preparation. Have a good one, guys.